one of the numerous recommendations of the plan. This, of course, will be run by the Justice Department that staged Fast and Furious and lets the big banks rob us and lets derivatives be put on the people's back. The plan also calls for the feds to collect more law enforcement data. Yeah, it's going to be federally mandated, wireless, jacked in, it's all in the plan, cameras on the cops. And you're like, oh, that's good. No, because then they're going to nickel and dime the good cops for doing nothing. And then they're going to, quote, classify and cover up stuff that's really bad. I'm telling you, this is selective enforcement, and it's going to be horrible. I'm for local squad car cameras, and the cops have little digital cameras. That's great. But if the cops all have to have GPS and the cops all have to have cameras on all the time, what's going to happen to us? Well, guess what's coming out? Cameras in all your cars you can't turn off. Toyota announced it 4 years ago. BMW is announcing it. I mean, careful what you wish for, boys and girls. In fact, this is a very serious plan, and I know we can link through to the plan. Let's get some screenshots of the plan. Let's show some of the recommendations. Great job, Kit Daniels, churning that report out at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Meanwhile, we're busy obsessing over Israel and Iran. I mean, I'm just so sick of it. I'm so sick of Iran, Saudi Arabia. Oh, Saudi Arabia is angry. They don't have to go through the TSA, but citizens do. Exactly. Everything is for us. None of it is for security. It's for a power grab. The federal threat fusion centers are in there federalizing our local police. And it's despicable, and it's dangerous, and it's out of control. We should have a separation of powers. We should have state, local, and federal to keep everybody honest. The problem is the feds have been taken over publicly by global government. Do I need to play clips right now of CNBC repeatedly saying foreign banks run America? Aren't we all just slaves of central banks? I mean, that's a fact, folks. We've been conquered. Sleestack in FEMA Region 4. What former state are you in, Sleestack? Okay, let's pipe him through, or maybe Sleestack's gone. Network, you got him?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sleestack. Yep. I mean, you should go ahead and talk, or I'm going to have to let you go.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, basically, as far as all the Israel criticism, I definitely agree that people are completely over the top, you know, and I couldn't agree with you more on that subject. However, I don't feel like you emphasize the Israeli involvement in 9/11 quite enough, because I mean, you have guys like Wayne Madsen come on, even they talk about, I know the Saudis were definitely involved too, but I just feel like as far as criticism, you know, I defend you a lot when people mention a lot of that stuff. But
I don't need you to defend. I don't want you to defend me because, you know, I made a film, I produced a film, Fabled Enemies, that is about Israeli involvement in 9/11. That is Criminal Elements, working with Saudi intelligence as they do closely. And I talk about it all the time. Just like Israel's involved with Turkey and Saudi Arabia right now with al-Qaeda. And I had Joel Skousen on yesterday talking about Israeli Arab spies inside ISIS. So it's like people say I don't cover the Federal Reserve, or I don't cover, I mean, it's just not true. But fine. I mean, go ahead. You're on air. We didn't screen your call. Tell us about Israeli involvement. See, that's the way to do it. Just call in and talk about it, because no one's censoring you.
Right. Well, I'm just saying is, you know, all the cats like, you know, Michael Chertoff, Dov Zakheim, the Israeli security at airports, and all the PNAC involvement with Philip Zelikow, Paul Wolfowitz, Richard Pearl, Douglas Feith, George Tenet. It's basically, lately I've just been, you know, hearing you talk about the 28 pages, and who knows exactly what they're going to say, but, you know, I just hear this constant, you know, Saudi Arabia, and it's like, yeah, absolutely, but...
Well, that's because that's in the 28 pages, and we know where the hijackers came from. We know there was a stand down. I've interviewed the head of the U.S. Embassy Visa section who exposed all this 14 years ago on the show. So I know we can prove that, and I can prove the government covered it up and stood down, and that's enough to send Al Capone to prison, baby. I will take what I can prove.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I fully support you, Alex.
Well, God bless you, brother, and I appreciate you. And listen, we don't have to agree on Israel completely to, you know, we all want free market, Second Amendment, due process. I just don't want to get caught up in this Middle Eastern power struggle battle. The globalists want us. There's a reason the government and the ADL and Southern Poverty Law Center and folks sock puppet these white supremacist groups.
When an emergency happens, you could be left to fend for yourself and your family. An outbreak of contagious disease can happen anywhere. Because we're faced with more diseases than ever before, we need a better solution than ever before. Fortunately, there is a simple, effective way to protect yourself. Supernatural Silver is a revolutionary silver solution that is clinically shown to be several hundred times more effective than colloidal or ionic silver. And it's powerful enough to help protect you and your family from deadly viruses, bacteria, and fungus. Supernatural Silver is effective against more than 500 different disease-causing pathogens without encouraging drug resistance and without side effects. Supernatural Silver is scientifically supported and is the #1 choice of thousands for improved health and immune system support. Go to supernaturalsilver.com and use the code SILVER2015 for 30% off. That's supernaturalsilver.com. Give yourself and your loved ones a fighting chance.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
I'm really glad my buddy Mark turned me on to guns80.com. I got to tell you, I didn't want to buy any more firearms. I didn't want a paperwork trail headed back to Big Brother. I want 100% privacy. I want to be an invisible gun owner. Hello? So Mark says, hey, guns80.com, Ghost AR-15. Ghost means invisible. Get it? Ghost AR-15. Guns80.com. I got a couple, if you know what I mean. Go to guns80.com or call 844-2GUNS80.
Harvest Right, the makers of the only in-home freeze dryer, would like to present to you their greenhouses that double as emergency shelters. Their greenhouses simply snap together, no tools needed. As a greenhouse, it will stand for decades. It's incredibly strong, long-lasting, and it can be quickly put up or taken down. It is also ideal when used as an emergency shelter. Learn more about this great greenhouse and the money you can save over the big box store prices at harvestright.com. That's harvestright.com.
It's very easy to be a criminal. All you need to burglarize a home is one simple household tool, a pair of scissors. If your home security system can be compromised by a criminal using scissors, then you're making it easy for them. Almost every home security system, even those sold by big-name companies, has a weakness: the phone line. You shell out $1,500, get locked into a long-term contract, and think you're safe. But a burglar can destroy your alarm in seconds with one snip. And when a burglar cuts your phone line, you're defenseless. Simply Safe Home Security is the smarter choice. Built by Harvard engineers, Simply Safe uses a wireless connection to call the cops. Scissors can't cut it. And that means your home stays safe. 24/7 professional monitoring is under $15 a month with no contract. Simply Safe Home Security keeps you safer than the other guys for half the cost. Protect your home with the alarm you can trust. Simply Safe. Go to simplysafedefense.com now for an exclusive 10% offer. That's simplysafedefense.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Alex Jones Show. I'm your host, Alex Jones. This is a syndicated radio broadcast in the main, but we also have a full TV production here at Infowars.com/show. And already have cable systems and TV stations picking the broadcast up live via internet streams, some of them then downloading it and playing it later, even before we officially launch on satellite and other systems in the near future. But our main audience is 170 plus AM and FM affiliates, and, of course, the giant amount of folks watching the video and listening to the audio streams. And the way we reach more people is you out there spreading the word, so thank you so much. We'll go to Regina, Steve, Alex, Abdi, Dan, and others that are patiently holding after Lord Monckton leaves us here in about 25 minutes or so. Lord Christopher Monckton, of course, was the top advisor to Margaret Thatcher. He's a scientist, researcher, journalist, ran major newspapers in the UK. He now runs scienceandpublicpolicy.org. He helped prove that Al Gore's film, An Inconvenient Truth, was an inconvenient fraud. Had it basically removed from UK schools because they had to put a disclaimer in that polar bears could swim and penguins could swim and the ice sheets were, not disappearing. They've actually gotten bigger. And a lot of other big victories. And this is the big globalist push to control and track and tax everything on Earth while ignoring real environmental crises. So I wanted to get him on because his big peer-reviewed paper has come out and is being attacked and demonized right now. I don't want to spend too much time on that because these people are so discredited, whatever. But it's important. I also want to get his take on geopolitical movements. So if he'll do this, I'll throw a curveball at him, a wild card in the short segment. The next long segment, he can have the floor in the main. What do you make of Bibi's speech to Congress? What do you make of this Western alliance with al-Qaeda calling itself ISIS to bring down Assad, now blowing back so we ally with Iran, and Israel saying they may, basically go in and blow up those reactors, and then Russia, and I mean, everything seems to be going into high gear. Obama is saying he may raise taxes executively. That is dictatorship. He's banning bullets with executive action that is totally illegal. He's federalizing police. Everything's moving in high gear. Is there a reason geopolitically this is happening? Because it seems in other Western nations things are moving quickly. What's going on, Lord Monckton, in your view?
Okay. Two questions. First of all, let's deal with Obama and what he's up to there in the United States, in Washington. Now, what he's doing is he's realized he's lost control of Congress. He knows he's no longer in charge of that. So what he's doing is he's saying, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make law up as I go along and use the procedure known as the executive order, where I just write a piece of paper saying this is what I want, and that then becomes the law. Now, Congress ought to wake up and realize that, in fact, he doesn't have the power to do this, because Article 1, Section 1 of your Constitution, quite clear, it says that no law can be passed by anyone unless it's passed by Congress. Nobody else has any legislative power on their own at all. So he can't usurp the function of Congress unless Congress lets him away with it. And the Republicans need to sharpen their game and start saying, no, we're not going to let the EPA make up rules. We're not going to allow Obama to make up rules randomly. It has to come before Congress or it isn't a law. So that's that one. He's acting as every dictator always does, making up the law when he can't get it through his parliament. Now, as far as Bibi Netanyahu is concerned, whom I know, because I met him in Israel many years ago when I went there as a guest of the government, what he is really saying in that speech is a cry for help. He's saying, look, this is going to hell in a handcart because effectively the West has found itself taking sides over and over again with one Muslim faction against another. And then in no time at all, it finds itself fighting on the opposite side. And all the time it is feeding Western weapons in to groups which eventually become terrorist groups fighting against the West. And it's time that this nonsense stopped. Now, of course, he's also very worried indeed about the various nuclear researches going on in Iran, which are clearly not intended so much for civilian use as for weaponizing the plutonium to make bombs with. And he is not going to allow that to happen. And he's made that very plain. After all, it was Israel who previously knocked out the Osirak reactor in Iraq when it too was working towards weaponizing nuclear material. So he is saying, if you won't do your job, because Obama effectively has abdicated in that region, he is too close to the Muslim side of things to be trustworthy as far as Bibi Netanyahu is concerned. So Netanyahu is saying, I'm going to have to act unilaterally unless you decide that you're going to sharpen up your act and find a more solid, coherent policy for dealing with the Middle
All right, Lord Monckton, stay there and come back and finish that. Then we'll get into your paper making international headlines, the latest power grabs.
We're on the march.